Hey people, this is Conrad Layn here. Thank you for following me through. This is my Turo Ideas segment that I created that goes over different solutions that I believe from my experiences that we can even become a better team and better company, because I do believe in Turo's trajectory of growth. They're a great company. They're definitely going to do even better as the years comes, in my personal opinion. I really have strong conviction in this company. I love the opportunity. I'm happy as a host. It's just a great company, great culture. So I'm always talking about what I love about Turo, and I don't ever want to appear to be one side. I want to give my real perspective, my understanding. But hey, I really do love Turo. I'm just giving my realist perspective. Things have been going well, but I do want to share light on some things I think that we can actually create solutions for. There's in every relationship, there's always something we could do better. So I'm gonna dive right into it, people. In regards to independent claims, I do believe in the process and the approach. It's definitely beneficial if it's executed properly in theory. I'm going to give you a few examples on a few key elements I have a bit of an issue with, but I think we can definitely fix this, and I have a solution. And by no means, maybe this will go to the right person, maybe not, or right people. But this is what I want to do. I want to share this so that hopefully it gets to Turo, and hopefully it also gets to us hosts. We can all come together with better sound resolutions like a team. We're a team in this. So this is what it is, people. When you file independent claims, that's usually what's referred to as one of the best solutions that you can do. And I do believe in that if it works in theory. And what I mean by that is this. If, for example, a guest has, say, a $3,000 deductible, right? $3,000, this is hypothetically speaking. And say there's that $2,000 of damage. It'll be at a disservice to the guest to pay a deductible to repair a car that costs less than the deductible. So at that point, it's, I think, the kind thing to do, and not just kind, resourceful thing to do, to just handle it independently. Say, hey, instead of paying $3,000 deductible, this will benefit you, Mr. or Mrs. Guest. How about you just pay the $2,000? And if you, and that's it, and that's more than fair. And then you don't pay a deductible, because then that means you have to pay a deductible. But if you can just resolve it independently, you avoid a deductible, so you just earned income actually, because you didn't have to pay a deductible. The guest took care of that, and they avoided paying their big deductible, and they are able to actually fix the situation and resolve it in a matter of paying less than their deductible, but you're still paid out. And as long as you file it independently, it's not a gray market transaction. It's one of the few exceptions that you're allowed to accept cash or payment from the guest, but you have to file independently so it's not deemed a gray market transaction. That's in a perfect world. That's in theory, that works, and that I agree with that. The problem is this, and this is the problem I have, is that if, for example, say, for example, the guest has a $0 deductible, a premier plan, right? And I want to file independently. The problem is that you cannot file independently with them, because the independent claim amount limit is set on whatever their deductible is. And if they have a $0 deductible, they're not eligible. You're not eligible to file a claim independently, meaning you're forced to pay a deductible either on your plan or on their plan. That's what I think we need to fix, is that if someone has a $0 deductible, or shoot, even if they have a $500 deductible, or if they have, if they have a $500 deductible, for example, and say there's $2,000 of damage, even if you cut it and do a good job of finding a mechanical repair for cheaper, for $1,000 instead of $2,000, they still only have a $500 deductible, meaning that now they're paying more than their own deductible. So they're not inclined. Who wants to pay more? So, for example, if there's $2,000 of damage done, if someone has a $500 deductible and you sell it independently, you can only collect up to $500. And second, that's what I think we need to fix. Second, even if they do want to pay you $1,000, you risk a gray market transaction. Now they're paying over that amount. A third, however, why would they want to pay you $1,000 when they could pay a $500 deductible and they pay for the insurance? You ask yourself that question: would you want to pay more? Like if you have a $500 deductible and your host is saying, "Hey, pay me $1,000 and to make this go away, let's handle it independently." Why would you want to pay me more money? If anything, now I'll look like I'm scamming you. Like, hey, hold on. So Turo wants me to pay $500 and you want me to pay you $1,000? That's the flaw in this. The theory is right, but what I think this is my solution for this. If you're gonna file independently and you're a host or a guest, this is what should happen. I think if I had to possibly to make the decision, I think the best solution would be to remove it having to match whatever the guest deductible is. That's a hindrance and disadvantage to both the guest and the host, because what happens now, you put the guest in a situation where now they suspect or they expect that there's some fraud going on, or they look at the host. It brings down the experience as well, because now the host is asking for more money. Because if, for example, if you have a $2,000 damage claim with them and you want to sell it, even if you give them a deal for $1,000 or $2,000, whatever the case might be, and they only have a $500 deductible or a $0 deductible, why would they want to pay you? And second, you can't even do it if you wanted to. The system stops you. You can't collect more than that. However, at that point, you're collecting more money over what's the amount that it states specifically. I'm gonna share my screen and show you a $0 claim that I went through. And the problem is, I want to handle it independently. I don't want to use my Turo insurance. I don't want to use their Turo insurance. I really do want to file an independent claim, but the Turo system doesn't even give me the option to, because it says that it's ineligible. Even if it was a $500 deductible, that means the limit is only $500. If it's a higher deductible, it's the limit's whatever the guest deductible is. I think that should be removed. I think that we should be able to handle independently. So A, we don't have to actually file Turo claims. This, I'm all for filing independently. And if we file independently, we don't have to use Turo insurance. The guests have to use their insurance or their Turo insurance, and we can resolve it independently, usually in a more sound manner. But we need at least the option. It doesn't even give you the option to file independently if they have a $0 deductible, for example. If they have a $500 deductible, you can only collect up to whatever the limit is. So at that point, I believe that if we do this and change that rule, like it should be that, hey, if the guest agrees to pay this lower amount, or whatever their amount is, even if it's over or under their deductible, we should be able to do that. But again, you have to also remember, if the guest has a lower deductible than what you're asking for, why would they be inclined? You know what I mean? So that's what I think the solution needs to be, at least from the host level. Have it where even if they have a $0 deductible, still file independently, and give us the option to be able to file independently. Because if that's the case, we should be able to file independently then. You know what I mean? So that we avoid paying. So maybe we don't want to pay a deductible. Maybe you're a host that chose the Turo 90. You don't want to pay a $2,500 deductible for maybe a $600 key. You know what I mean? It makes no sense to you either. Second, like at the same time, it doesn't make sense for the guests. So, but if you can talk with the guests and say they agree to pay you, then you're not forced to use your Turo insurance, and now you can actually go settle independently, even if they have a $0 deductible. Because oftentimes, if you give them a good experience, they're okay with it. They're like, okay, either I'll file my deductible or my insurance, or I'll go independently with you. But at least let's have the option. And the problem is, we don't have the option to go independently if the guest is in a situation where we have to actually file an independent claim. That's a big hindrance. I'm gonna share my screen at the end of this to show you guys that when a guest has $0, you can't even file an independent claim. You just can't. However, so even if I want to, even if they agree, if they want to pay me, I can't accept it. At that point, like, it's not even eligible. Then now I'm collecting money that I'm not supposed to collect. You know what I mean? So there needs to be a solution that's more streamlined, in my opinion. And like I said, I love Turo. I think Turo is a great company, but I do think that at the end of the day, we need, if we're gonna solve a claim independently, we need to actually create a system where it's not based on whatever the deductible of the guest is. So who cares if they have a $500 deductible? If I want to charge them $1,000 because they cost $2,000 of damage and they agree to it, we should be able to at least sell it independently. But now I'm forced to go through a $0 deductible. I'm forced to use my insurance because it's not eligible, or I'm forced to only collect up to $500 or up to the lower amount of whatever their deductible is. That's not fair. It only works out typically if the damages is, say, $2,000, their deductible is $3,000. Then yeah, of course the guests will want to pay, because yeah, they're saving money. They're saving $1,000, but it does not help the guest if the Turo guest, if the damage is $500 for if the guest has $500 worth of damage or whatever, a $500 deductible, and you try to charge them $1,000 for damage or $2,000 damage, why they want to pay you more? So that's the only like part I think we can get better in, is that giving at least the host the option, regardless if you have a $0 deductible. It shouldn't be contingent on whatever the deductible is. It should be just in general. If both parties agree to handling independently, it benefits, because we're not trying to go through Turo insurance. We're trying to solve it independently. I think it'll be a much better resolution. It should be a way of filing, just removing the threshold. It should not be contingent on the deductible. It should be contingent on the two parties that are competent in mind, that are stating, hey, I agree, regardless if I have a low deductible or high deductible, I want to pay this host independently, and the host is agreeing to accept this money from the guest independently, so that we can actually move forward and resolve this in a sound manner. We should have that option. We don't have that option right now because it's contingent on the deductible. That's about it, people. I'm gonna share my screen for a few seconds and show you what I mean. Love Turo again. This is not meant to be hateful. This is just my honest host review, and I should have a right to have my opinions. And I'm not complaining. I'm just stating that I believe in company. I believe in Turo, and I want to be the first to really start mentioning without some bias, hate. I love Turo, but I also want to be fair and mention what I find, so that we can better each other as people, as a company, and as a real solution. This is what this channel is about, and this is what this segment is about. Turo ideas, about creating solutions. So I love you guys. Thank you so much for following me. You guys enjoy yourselves. And again, I think Turo is a great option, great opportunity. But I think there's things we can do and solutions. And the solution to this is not making the independent claims contingent on the guest deductible. Give us the choice, the guest and the host, to be able to handle this and resolve this independently without it being contingent on a deductible. It should be contingent on the two competent parties that are competent by mind. And that's about it. Conrad Layn out. Like, subscribe, share.